Hello, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who I am, my name is Shook. I make videos for NBA. I make videos for NFL. All these videos, they get posted on the subreddit right here. It's called DF Sports. I make updates with all the news that comes out throughout the day. You can ask me questions, always reply to you down below. So that'll be linked down in the comments. And if you ever need to get a hold of me privately, you can get a hold of me on Twitter right here or Reddit Messenger. But the comment section is always the fastest way to reach me. All right, let's get into my lineup from tonight, and it's going to be a good night overall. I went super light today. But yeah, Steve Kerr, you can fire him immediately. Also, that Steph Curry performance. What did he shoot tonight? 2 of 14. Unbelievable stuff. But yeah, good night overall. Went light, didn't really like the slate. I always go light on Sundays anyway. But my core today was Marcus Smart, who was a core play, he smashed. Um, what else was core? Goga Patate, he was a core play, he smashed. Okiku was core play, he busted. And then I believe I had Desmond Bain a core play. He did good. I couldn't get to Bain because I initially had Bain, but I had Vince Williams here and Bain. And then Vince Williams was coming off the bench, so I got scared off because he's coming off an injury. And of course, Vince Williams, I legit think he went for like 40 fantasy points, I want to say. Where is Vince? I want to say he went for 40 fantasy points. Can I find a Vince lineup? I'm sure people that slept or kept him. I do want to say, yeah, he went for 37, so that was a bit painful. Bane went for 40, so that swap definitely cost me some points, but happy with my swap. I thought Jaren was a really, really good play with no jaw. And then, yeah, rounded out my lineup, and I told everyone to get to one of the Minnesota main guys. I ended up going with both. Yeah, rounded out my lineup with Jaren, Cat, um, Andrew Wiggins, and Mike Conley. So good night overall. I hope you guys had a great night tonight, and let's get through this 6-game slate pretty quickly. So, all right, OKC at Washington. I mean, SGA, I think is my second favorite spin up on this slate. My clear overall favorite spin up is going to be Giannis in a smash spot with no Dame, but I do really like SGA. Now, can you fit both? I mean, probably not. I don't know if we have a ton of value on this slate. You could probably make it work, but I don't know if I would do that. But yeah, if for some reason you're not playing SGA or um, Giannis, then SGA is going to be my overall second favorite spot up on the slate, and a really good spot going up against Washington. Just super fast paced matchup. So I really like SGA here. You guys know I always like to target Daniel Gafford. Bigs against Gafford, definitely a thing. So I like Chet's ceiling here quite a bit. So I think Chet's a pretty good play. Jalen Williams at 7K, I would say, is more priced right, but it's such a good spot. I think all these guys are firmly in play. Josh Giddey, I think, is priced right. Not playing a ton of minutes right now. I don't know if he necessarily has the ceiling at this price point when he's only playing like 23, 24 minutes game to really absolutely smash. So more of a contrarian play for me, but he's in play. Lou Dort, we'll see around 30 minutes. Good defender, can get defensive stats. I mean, if he hits his shots, he does have a ceiling. He's like fine, pretty safe. And then, you're going to see like Isaiah Joe, Kenrich Williams in the rotation. I don't know if it's necessary to go to those guys, but 150 maxers out there, sure. Moving on to Washington, I mean, this team's just so frustrating. Some games they'll run tight rotations when they're playing, when their main guys are playing well. Most games they will not. Like everyone on this team, more contrarian plays for me, and guys like Kyle Kuzma. The guy I feel the best about is honestly Denny. Like I think, I think regardless, he's gonna play around 30 minutes. Guy that can stuff his stat sheet, good rebounder. It's like I have interest, but I don't like the spot. Tyus Jones, I would say, is priced right. Daniel Gafford's priced right. I am intrigued by Jordan Poole, though. I know he's been god awful, but if you give him 30 minutes again at this price point, he does have a ceiling. Like we've seen games where he does have this type of upside, so I am intrigued by Poole for tournaments. Cool Bale, if you think like the game blows out, he'll play in a blowout. He could crush in a blowout. If the game stays competitive, he'll be in the rotation anyway. So I think he's a fine value. And then Corey Kispert, he'll see low 20s minutes, like high teens to low 20s. Now the price point is down. I think he's reasonable if you need to punt with a value. All right, moving on to Boston. So we have Tatum and Porzingis both questionable. Sam Hauser questionable as well. If everyone's in, I mean, it's a really, really good spot. I think, I'd have interest in the main guys. I don't think any of them would be priorities, but in a really, really good spot, I'd have interest in Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, White, and Holiday for tournaments. My favorite would probably be Porzingis point per dollar, but I think Brown would be solid. Tatum would be an interesting spend up. I think like SGA and Giannis a bit more, but would be in play. Derek White, Drew Holiday, my least favorites of this grouping. I don't think I get to much else, though. If they're both out, though, that's going to change a lot. I would assume the starting lineup would be something like Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Sam Hauser, Al Horford. If that's the case, then I really like this team. Like, I'm going to really like Jaylen Brown at 8.2K. Derek White would be a solid play. I'd like Drew Holiday quite a bit. Al Horford would be very, very safe and be a good play, even at this price point. Sam Hauser will have to play all the minutes he can handle. He would be a very solid value. You'll probably see some backup 5 for Luke Cornett. You'll see a bit more Pritchard, might see a bit more Brissett. So there'd be a decent amount to like here for Boston if those two guys are out. So keep an eye on that. Moving on to the Pacers. So Halliburton, not a good spot going up against Boston, but he's always in play for me. Probably going to give you a double-double every single time. In a competitive game, he's playing close to 40 minutes as well. Also keep an eye on Bruce Brown, Andrew Nembhard. Last game with these two guys out, they started, I want to say Buddy Hield. Let me actually pull up the rotation because Jalen Smith is also getting some backup 5 minutes again. That's why his minutes have gone back up a little bit. And we also have Isaiah Jackson questionable as well. So if these two guys are out, then I like Hield ceiling at 5.2K. Neesmith would be very, very safe. Mathurin would have a ceiling. I think I prefer the price point on Buddy Hield. TJ McConnell would be playable at 4.8, but now he's priced right, in my opinion, maybe a little bit overpriced. And then I'm intrigued by Jalen Smith, especially if Isaiah Jackson's out. If you continue to give him like 25 minutes game at 4.7, he would be a solid value. And also, he is getting a little bit of backup 5 as well. Is this the right game? I think it is. No, it's not. 106. Where's 106? 2 games ago they were out. No, it's this game. Okay, yeah. So keep an eye on Jackson News. Don't think it matters too much, but I like Jalen Smith for value. And I don't think I'll get to Obi Toppin. I think I just prefer Smith. And then if those two guys are out, wings would be intriguing. And then if they're in, I'm just not going to mess with the wings. Just probably be a stay away for me. All right, moving on to Chicago. So keep an eye on what they're going to do with the limits and starting lineup for Chicago. So looking at the rotation last game, they had Vooch and Levine come off the bench. They started Io and Dalen Terry. So let's say a situation happens again where we get Io and Dalen Terry in the starting lineup. Then Io played 40 minutes. I mean, these are two bad teams going up against each other. Charlotte does play fast as well. So I'm not saying it'll blow out because it's two horrible teams going up against each other. But in the case it does, I mean, Io's going to play in a blowout anyway. So keep an eye on the news here for Levine and Vooch. If we get a situation where they're saying they're on a limit again and they come off the bench, then, I will be in play. What else? Dalen Terry started. He played 21 minutes. Fine value. I'm not going to get to guys like Levine and Vooch off the bench. Drummond, he's overpriced. And also keep an eye on Patrick Williams news as well. If he's in, obviously Dalen Terry becomes out of play. And then if we get a situation where they change the starting lineup back to their normal lineup, everyone's in, no limits, then I have interest in the main guys. Like, I think Vooch would be in a good spot. I would like Vooch. Like, Levine be a little bit too cheap at 7K. So keep an eye on that and keep an eye on the lineup. All right, moving on to Charlotte. Charlotte's pretty thin here. So last game they started Cody Martin. They also have no PJ Washington here. They're just running Terry Rozier and Miles Bridges into the ground. So these two guys I think look pretty good at 8.3 and 8K respectively. I think they'll be pretty low owned as well. But with them playing this many minutes, their floors are going to be pretty high. They're just doing everything for this team as well. So I like Rozier. I like Bridges. Brandon Miller, I don't know why he just didn't play last game. It wasn't foul trouble either. He's priced right. Cody Martin, if he's going to continue to play, 35 minutes, relatively safe. He's not the best point per minute. He's like 0.75 point per minute, but you give him 35 minutes again, yeah, fine. Too solid. And then with them running such a tight rotation, I don't think I can go to anyone off the bench. Like Mensa's getting the backup 5, but I'm not going to play him. All right, moving on to Houston. So Tari Eason's out. I think my favorite play on this team is going to be Jabari Smith. Whenever Tari Eason's out, and I keep saying it, he's going to play close to 40 minutes a game as long as he can stay out of foul trouble. They don't like to play Tari Eason and Jabari Smith together almost ever. So without Tari Eason on the court, they have no other options, right? So Jabari's going to play all the minutes he can handle. So I like Jabari for tournaments. For Evan Fleet, Alfred Sengun, more contrarian plays for me, but relatively high floors. Kind of like with the Charlotte guys, they're going to play all the minutes they can handle. Jason Tate has just been god awful. Got into foul trouble last game, but he's been starting. He's fine. And then I don't think I'm going to go to anyone else. Saw a bit of Cam Whitmore last game. Amin Thompson will be in the rotation. Fine darts or dart. I'm not going to consider Whitmore, but Amin, if you're like 150 maxer, it's fine. Jeff Green will be in the rotation, but no thanks. All right, moving on to Miami. So last game, or they've been starting Jovic of late. I also do want to point out Kevin Love has been playing alongside Bam Adebayo some. So Kevin Love's minute ceiling, I would say, he could play anywhere from like 22 to like 25, 26. Got into foul trouble here as well. We know he's a good point per minute guy. So I'm intrigued by Love, even at this price point. Bam, Harrow, I think they're both fine. I do give the edge to Bam straight up, maybe Harrow a bit point per dollar. And then Jamie I like. I know it's not a good spot going up against Houston, but he's just playing all the minutes he can handle right now. He's not priced up either. Stat sheet stuffer. So I think Jamie's solid. Duncan off the bench, no thank you. Kyle Lowry, J-Rich, they're kind of splitting the guard duties. J-Rich has been closing over Kyle Lowry of late. I think he's solid value, but Kyle Lowry would be your pivot there. And then Jovic, I think is fine. I would say he's priced right now, though. Don't think I'll go to anyone else. All right, moving on to Utah. So Utah's kind of been running a relatively normal rotation of late. If we take a look at last game, the game prior as well, they kind of did. Where is Utah? So they gave Markkanen his big minutes. They gave John Collins his normal mid-20s. They're gonna go with the hot hand between Sexton and Clarkson, but they closed together last game. Dunn's the guy getting slashed from the closing lineup. And then, they're going to play their 3 or 4 guys off the bench. So if they're going to continue to give their main guys run, then Markkanen is too cheap if he gets 35 minutes. Not a good spot going up against the Bucks, but playable. Clarkson, Sexton, I think are both interesting tournament options. If they keep getting around 30 minutes, they are too cheap. And then I like John Collins. I would expect mid-20s minutes from him, solid point per minute. 28 minutes here, 22 minutes here in foul trouble, plus the blowout. So I like John Collins at 5-2. Simone will play around 30 minutes, fine, but his production, he's been exceeding his production of late. Finally came back down to earth there. And then Dunn's been playing around 20 minutes. Reasonable value. All right, let's move on to Milwaukee. So we got Dame out, we got Crowder out, we got Payne out. So we'll see what they do with the starting lineup here. But Giannis is just going to have to do everything for this team. Like, he'll probably run point as well. So I absolutely love Giannis here going up against the Jazz. He's the best bet up on the slate. It's not close in my opinion. I absolutely love him. Chris Middleton, I really like also at 7K. He's a very good play. With Dame, with Crowder, with Payne out, you're going to see more minutes. Like Beasley's minutes are probably going to be very secure. I like him for value. Pat Connaughton, MarJon, their minutes are probably going to go up. I prefer Pat Connaughton to MarJon. We'll keep an eye on what they do with the starting lineup. But Bobby Portis might get a minutes increase. He does have a ceiling. Andre Jackson as well. So keep an eye on what to do with the starting lineup. But it's just going to be Giannis just doing absolutely everything for this team. But there's going to be definitely some value here, and I already like a ton. So keep an eye on that. Giannis does look amazing, though. Probably my least appealing game of the night. It's a back-to-back. Keep an eye on Kevin Durant. I haven't seen anything yet, but he was supposed to be on a limit tonight, and he just played 40 minutes. But if he's in, then Kevin Durant, Booker Beal, all contrarian plays for me. Nurkic, minutes haven't been great. I know he played 32 minutes tonight, but does have a ceiling. Grayson Allen's overpriced for me. I'm not going to go to the bench. If he's out, then we can start considering Booker, Beal, Nurk. All right, moving on to the Clippers. So Zubac played 40 minutes tonight. So I like Zubac's ceiling for tournaments if he gets those minutes. Paul George, Harden, Kawhi, they're all priced right. They all eat into each other's usage, but they all have ceilings. Not going to prioritize any of them. Norm Powell's priced right. Terrence Mann, no thank you. I'm not going to mess with the bench either. So hope you guys had a good night tonight, and I will talk to y'all in the next one.